welcome to another Tomcat video. In this video, we're going to be talking about Project Mozart requirements as well as materials and doing a bending test. Let's get into it. Project Mozart requirements. 1. A mostly lashed frame. 2. Some welded components. 3. Have dual motors, controllers, and batteries. 4. Pedals. 5. It will be a slapdash style build, meaning it won't be perfect or clean. 6. Sound effects. 7. Fenders. 8. Security features. 9. Fat 26-inch tires. 10. Unpainted except on steel parts. 11. Good for actual biking and transportation. 12. Have a rack. Okay, let's quickly go over the Project Mozart building materials. So here I have some 6061 aluminum tubes, and it's really important for us to take a look at these material samples to see if we can bend them, how they bend, what the bend radius is, and that way we can design the bike. I can't really go too far into designing the bike until I know how these materials are going to perform and bend. Over here you have some geared benders of various sizes. These are antique plumbing benders. Over here we have our lashing materials. These are ultra high molecular weight Dyneema samples, which I thought would be really cool to try for this project. I have a whipping twine, which is used for sailing ropes, for dressing sailing ropes. I have a kite, like surf kite building materials, also a Dyneema, or ultra high molecular weight. Some other sail making materials. I have some beeswax for waxing these cords so we can see how they perform with or without wax and how that's going to affect the build. Over here I just wanted to show a handlebar sample. So this is your traditional handlebar, and then this is the aluminum tube that is similar to handlebar diameter, or a 22 millimeter and some change. So the idea with Project Mozart that I have is to not use a traditional stem, but to do a handlebar and fork combination. So I want the handlebar to also be the fork. So it'll come up, the fork leg will come up, and then it will bend and become the handlebar. And for that, I have this material that can sleeve. So this is a 0.75 going into a 0.875, and potentially could reinforce the fork handlebar combination that way. It'll also be doubled up or tripled up. We'll see. For the motor, I have a 135 Bafeng 750 watt geared hub motor, 135 dropout, which I will lace into this 26-inch fat tire rim. I will take out this hub and build this front 135 hub motor. For the rear, we'll do a 175 dropout hub motor, 750 watt geared motor. For the controllers, we'll use 2 FOC controllers, one for the front, one for the rear. For the batteries, I would prefer to use 2 48-volt traditional pack batteries, removable. If for some reason the batteries can't fit in the frame, which they may or may not, I'll look to get a single 52-volt battery, so a battery that could handle the draw from 2 motors continuously. Over here, I have this really cool paddle sample that I made. I made this some number of years ago when I built my George Dyson style kayak. This is an aluminum plate that's been lashed to this tube using this waxed artificial sinew. And then over that, there's a 2-part epoxy that locks in the lashings. I'm kind of not sure how the wax and the epoxy would interact. This paddle hasn't actually been used as a paddle, unfortunately. It was just a cool sample that I built. That is it for the basic overview. Let's take a look at the lashing materials and see how they perform waxed and unwaxed, and kind of decide what direction to go and which lashing material to use. Okay, so here's an assortment of the lashing materials. So you have the seam twines, the wax nylons, the kite ropes, the tree working ropes, and the whipping twines. And what I was able to kind of determine pretty quickly is how to eliminate them. So we have this as an example of the bracket that I want to use, or a aluminum thickness and hole size. I've used this on my kayak. This is a leftover piece from a gusset bracket, and quickly we can see that certain cords will not allow too many passes through the hole. And in order to get kind of a good purchase on the materials, I want to get more passes. So really quickly eliminating this material, I think I counted 4 passes through the holes, which doesn't feel like enough. And then, for example, this really thick seam twine, maybe 3 or 4 passes as well. One technique you can use is a sailing needle. A sail making needle will help you get through tight spaces, but this is just feeling a little thick. So that kind of quickly eliminates me down to this 0.5 millimeter, this 0.9 millimeter material. These are my favorites so far, and that's just because I'm going to be able to get enough passes through these lashing holes to make a good connection. Um, this one is pre-waxed. This is an unwaxed. Interesting thing with this one is it's a hollow core, which means that there's kind of some space in the middle, and it kind of performs in a weird way where it kind of bunches up like this. So far, this waxed cord is my favorite. Let's try waxing this cord and seeing how it performs with and without wax to make a decision. But we clearly have our 2 winners and our prototyping materials. It's between these 2 lashing materials, and that's enough to get started. Okay, so let's see how the waxed and unwaxed twine acts under different conditions. So over here we have some unwaxed twine. We'll just start by wrapping it on this tube. So you're adding some pressure, and as you would think, it just releases it pretty quickly. Versus the wax cord, we're just going to wrap it, the beeswax cord, and add a little pressure to it as we apply it. And you can see that it somewhat keeps its pressure applied, which is a really nice feature of the waxing. So we'll do the same thing with this bracket. So I have a bracket here. Just start by lashing it, waxed and unwaxed. So this will be the unwaxed lashing. Just do a couple loops so it's not too long of a process. So here we go. And just like right away, you can see that the cord is kind of fraying a little bit, and because I caught the edge of this aluminum, and that it's not really keeping its pressure applied. So then we'll go right to the wax one pretty quickly here. And as you would intuitively think, it just performs a little bit different, like pretty much right away. One of the thoughts that I have about waxing versus non-waxing is like, what kind of factors are happening that I don't quite see or understand? Like maybe the wax is adding a lubrication that would move over time and come loose, or maybe the space that the wax is adding would melt away under friction load and then create kind of space in the joint that we don't want. So you can also see that there's a difference in the waxed versus unwaxed. So for this project, I am going to go with waxed and kind of see what happens. I know other builders have used unwaxed and then used epoxy to seal the lashings in the holes and prevent movement. But I think as a person who has limited patience and easily distracted, it would be better to have something that has a little bit of a hold so I can kind of work my way through it and have it kind of bind and hold when I'm not looking or when I step away for a quick second. One thing you can do for the build is use these rheostats. This was recommended in George Dyson's book. So as you're tying, you could come in with these rheostats and clamp stuff and kind of keep the tension, which I will use as well. And you want to use a glove as well to tighten it really tight. But I will try to use this wax material, either this pre-waxed one, or I will wax this cord myself. But it was really nice to kind of decide where to go, and I think I've made a decision to at least prototype with for now. So here's some vice grips on this joint, and you can see that I am able to get some movement out of it. So clearly this would have to be addressed, and um, could have limitations. You can see how it just kind of peels off of that joint and kind of falls over like that. So we'll have to like structurally design the lashing and the connection points in ways that takes advantage of the strength of lashing, but doesn't fall into these kind of problematic situations. So you can see this one direction, this up and down, it's clearly not going to go anywhere, but kind of this twisting motion, it's coming off of the tube. So really gonna have to think about this design and how it will function and work with the strength of the material, and that'll be an experiment in itself. Okay, welcome to the episode of Will It Bend? So I have our geared bender here. This is a 7/8 bender, and then I have a 0.75 tube. So I might actually have to look into getting a 3/4 inch bender specifically, but we'll try it with this bender first. Clip this on. Here we go. So in here we're getting a kink. I think that's because this bender is not the right size. It's a little bit off, so I just kink this tube. So something to think about. I'm gonna have to possibly look into getting a different bender, but we'll still go in and see if we can bend this other tube as well. Okay, next up we have after that failed bending test, we actually have a bigger bender. This is the handlebar stock. I'm kind of most interested in whether this could become a fork. This is our 22 millimeter and change thickness. This is our bigger bender, our 5/8 inch bender, and our 5/8 inch stock. So let's see how this bend will set up. Some lube on there. So this is that handlebar stock again, just lubing it up to get the bend going. This is a thicker wall. Kind of just gonna see how well this wall thickness works and if it will bend. We'll see. Will it blend? Will it blend? Will it bend? Line this up. Kind of got a starting mark there. And tighten it all down. There we go. And it is bending, which is awesome. I didn't think wasn't sure if it would or not. Oh, I want to make sure that this follower is bending as well. Hopefully it is. Part of the reason for the lube is so that this bend follower will continue along the curve. And it is surprisingly bending, which is awesome. That is so cool, actually. Okay, so that's it. That bend did come out. I was able to get slightly past 90. I was hoping to be able to get even deeper of an angle for the frame, so I'm going to have to think about how I could make a bigger angle. It's also got a decent amount of flex in it, which I was hoping it wouldn't have that much, so I might go one wall thickness thicker and try bending again. It will kind of affect my telescoping tube situation that I was hoping for. But at least it was able to bend. So I will order a thicker wall of this material, the next wall, try that bend, and then I'll put some 0.75 inch benders on order so that we can actually bend this 0.75 to the proper radius and go from there. So not really enough information to fully design the frame CAD yet, but I'm gonna keep trying. So here are the results of a couple bends. I'm immediately running into some issues in which I thought I could easily jump in and start bending, but I have a lot of learning to do. It looks like I'm going to have to kind of create a straight section and go from a 90 to a 90 and then work within the angles of that. If I wanted to nest these, I'll probably have to extend this one and have a straight section so that the 90 can go to the 90, kind of the way these tools work. I'm immediately running into my own hubris where I thought I could go into this bending experiment really quickly. I think I'll need to take a break on the videos as I learn and get into this and see whether I can accomplish an adequate bend or if it's possible. So take a break on video making for a while, learn this process, see if it's possible, and then come back to it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you for a future video.